Hey guys, Ghost Trick Dave here with a Destiny 2 video. Today we're going to be looking at one of the new weapons from Festival of the Lost, because they're not new. It's the Horror Story, which on this channel I have like 4 or 5 videos about this weapon, because as you can see, 4,287 Crucible kills. It's kind of my favorite weapon of all time in Destiny 2, at least for a legendary. I love the Horror Story, you already know that, and we have a ridiculously gnarly roll here. Obviously it's capped at 1360 power, so it's good for like another year. We got a red dot 2 MOA. We got Tactical Mag for the increase to magazine, because with 450s I always find myself running out of ammo. Killing Wind, which is like the best trait in all of Destiny. Kills give increased movement speed, weapon range, and handling. It's so good. And then we're pairing that with Moving Target, which when aiming down sights we have more aim assist and also faster strafe speed. So pairing that with Killing Wind, we just move incredibly fast while aiming down sights after kills, and it makes us very hard to hit. We have a range masterwork to max out to get that really nice range stat for a 450, and an Icarus grip so our shots are accurate for whenever we're jumping, because we are a Warlock main on this channel, and that means we are one floaty boy. So, in order to get this weapon, it's actually pretty annoying, but Bungie's doing their best to make it a little bit easier on us. So to get these weapons, at the end of every Haunted Forest run, which already takes a minimum of 15 minutes, there are 5 extra chests that you can open with a Cipher Decoder. You get Cipher Decoders by just playing the game, doing any matchmade activity, the big ones being things like Crucible, Nightfalls, you know, strikes in general, Gambit, but I highly recommend doing something like Nightmare Hunts, Crucible, things like that. The way that I found they drop the most is actually Trials, and as somebody who doesn't really play a lot of Trials, but does play it to help friends get gear they haven't gotten before, after, you know, playing and helping some people get the Summoner, we got probably like 16 of them in an hour. So definitely the best way, in my opinion, is Trials. I know some of the Nightmare Hunts go by incredibly quickly, and you can farm out a ton of Cipher Decoders doing that, but aside from that, it's probably going to be Strikes, Crucible for your average player. Definitely recommend Trials, though, if it's something you're willing to go into. Even if you're only losing, you'll still be getting a ton of Cipher Decoder drops, and it's probably worth your time for just that. Once you get these Cipher Decoders and you open the chests, there is a chance you'll get one of the new auto rifles. Not guaranteed, and you can't pick which one when you get them. I've had runs where I don't get a single one of the Werewolf or Horror Story, and I've had runs where I get 3 Horror Stories or where I get 3 Werewolves. It's completely RNG, and I wish you luck if you decide, like me, that you want a god roll of these weapons. And it sucks because I don't just want a god roll of the Horror Story, right? I have a really good Horror Story here. I have a arguably god roll Werewolf as well, but there are certain rolls that I want to get. You know, I don't just want a simple, oh, I have one god roll. There are some interesting rolls on these weapons, and I want to get a ton of them. And that means I'm going to be doing a ton of mindless grinding of Destiny 2 for the time being, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but I am going to be spending a lot of time sitting in the Haunted Forest. Best bet as well, if you don't need to collect candy to get all the masks. If you already have all the masks, you have the ship, the ghost, and all of that currently, and you don't need the candy. Number one, you don't need to be wearing the Festival of the Lost mask to get these Cipher Decoders to drop, and number 2, load in to a firewalled Haunted Forest. Just stand on the opening plate so it starts the 15-minute timer, jump off the map so you don't get kicked for AFK, and after 15 minutes you'll be there and you can just run to the chests and open them. I know it's boring, but if you have other things to do in your life like me, and you can't be sitting and playing a 15-minute activity that really gives no worthwhile rewards besides candy and strange coins, then I highly recommend just AFKing a firewalled and reaping the rewards, especially when you have like 25 decoders, and you have to do it 5 times to get all of them at once before you can get more decoder drops. So that's my advice. And as for the rolls you can get, I highly recommend one of the red dots as your sight, because they give an increase to zoom range, and both of them give handling as well, which means you're going to be snappier down sights. You're going to have way more range, because outside of the range stat, zoom is the best thing to increase a weapon's range. Every time you increase the zoom by a point, you effectively get like 4 or 5 meters of range, which is effective of like 10, 15 on the range stat. So I highly recommend those, because they're your best bet without zooming in too much and making it feel like an awkward pulse rifle. For the magazine, as I said, Tactical Mag. Appended Mag or Extended Mag work as well, but Tactical Mag gives you a decent increase to the magazine while also giving you other benefits, aside from the other two that just kind of give you more shots in the magazine but don't give you stat increases as well. For the traits, in the first slot, we have A couple winners here, those being Killing Wind, as I mentioned, probably the best one in the entire game. Firmly Planted, which is slept on. A lot of people, when they're using auto rifles, spam crouch. Every time you hit that crouch, you get the increase to handling, you get the increase to accuracy. So that means every time you crouch, you're pretty much resetting your bloom cone, which is fantastic. And it also counts while sliding, so you get a mini quick draw while you're sliding with this weapon. So Firmly Planted is definitely slept on, but Killing Wind is phenomenal. In the second trait slot, the winners here are going to be Demolitionist. Demolitionist, one of my favorite perks, even if it's not the best in some people's eyes. Throwing a grenade reloads your weapon, but also every kill with that weapon will give you a chunk of your grenade. And I'm a very grenade-oriented player, so always having my grenade off cooldown is ideal. Outside of that, moving target, as I mentioned, it gives aim assist and strafe speed, very good. Snapshot, which auto rifles don't really see ever, but that means you're going to be the first shot in a gunfight always, which is good for 450s that don't have the most competitive time to kill. Being the first shot definitely matters a lot here. Slideways, which is like a mini Firmly Planted. After sliding, you get a buff to accuracy and handling for a short time. It's like 3 seconds, so perfect there. It doesn't work while crouching, obviously, but you do get the buff for a little bit longer after your slide and not just during your slide. So things like Firmly Planted Sideways are fun rolls. For me, Firmly Planted Demolitionist is one I'm definitely looking for, and something like either Firmly Planted or Killing Wind with Snapshot are the rolls that I'm still trying to get in my vault. So outside of the rolls, it's time to talk about 450s, and I've talked about 450s a lot on this channel, but they've been buffed again, and there's a lot of changes that they're constantly seeing and people still wanting them to see. So let's talk about 450s. 450s are my favorite auto rifles to use in Destiny 2. That being said, on paper, 450s are the worst auto rifles. 450s have a 0.93 second optimal time to kill, which is rather slow. That being said, they outrange almost all other auto rifles outside of 360s. 450s have a very nice range stat, and they very consistently hit it, so much so that I don't even think dynamic sway reduction is a must on these auto rifles because their bloom cone is not as large as other auto rifles, and they consistently hit their bullets at very long ranges as well, and things like Killing Wind give you increased accuracy as well. So dynamic sway reduction, not a necessity, not bad by any means. And on top of just having a longer range than most of the weapons you see in the Crucible, being my justifying point for them being good, their optimal time to kill is 6 crit, 2 body. That's very forgiving, that you're allowed to miss 2 headshots, land 2 body shots, and that means that there's a bunch of different optimal time to kills, less than optimal time to kills you can get with headshot, body shot ratios as well, because the weapons just hit very hard, whether it's a body shot or a headshot, because of the slower fire rate. That being said, since Forsaken, 450s have had the 0.93 second time to kill. It's been the same. It's gotten more lenient. It used to be 7 crit 1 body. Their damage has been buffed 2 or 3 times now, and I'm sorry, I just can't say that I want to see them get buffed again. Sure, if their damage gets buffed by 1 point in the crit department, they will be hitting a 0.8 second time to kill, which is completely competitive, as that's the same time to kill as Spare Rations, Dire Promise, Thorn, 150 RPM hand cannons, which are incredibly popular. They will be seeing the same time to kill, the exact same, but hitting way outside of the ranges that those hand cannons will ever hit. Hitting a good 10 meters more for the same time to kill, being 6 crit 1 body, which again is very forgiving. So I don't think they should be put in that situation. I don't think every weapon in Destiny 2 needs to be completely competitive, especially when there's so many traits, perks, subclass trees, exotics that make weapons better as is. Like I said, it is a 1 damage point difference. That being said, if you have a 450 that has high impact reserves and you shoot off a couple bullets so you're at the bottom half of your magazine still with like 16 shots because auto rifles hold a lot of bullets, you'll be hitting the 0.8 second time to kill with just high impact reserves. You could get things like Rampage, Kill Clip, all of that, which are going to make your time to kills much better and much more forgiving because getting more damage than you need, since you only need 1 point of damage. Something like Inertia Override, something like an Empowering Rift, any of that is going to be giving you a much more competitive weapon. And that being said, I already don't think they need them because you can box weapons outside of their intended range where their time to kill is officially worse than yours, and yours is still very good because not only do you have more range on your side, your bullets also hit harder, and they can drop a good like 4 damage points, still hitting the 0.93 second time to kill, and then even a little bit more range, because then you could just say you're landing 8 crits instead of 6 crit to body, which will be giving you more damage as well. So just these factors put into the game, it's not as simple to look at them on paper and say they're bad. Ever since I've gotten this horror story, and I've played a ton more since this game, I've been getting consistently 40 plus kill games with this weapon. And it's not that this weapon is sleeper meta, it's that there's a playstyle for a lot of things in Destiny 2, and that by no means are 450s just bad. Because the Crucible is a nut house, and so much goes on, so it's hard to just look at numbers and be like, that's bad. You have to play with it, you have to develop a playstyle, and you have to get used to things. 450s are not that bad. If they get buffed, it's not the end of the world. They will not be the end-all, be-all of the Crucible, but I don't think they need it. I think 450s are pretty fine, and I highly recommend you getting yourself a Braytech Werewolf, a horror story, something like that. But more importantly, feel free to check me out on any of my social media. Ghost Trick Dave on literally everything. Go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, share the video with your friends, do whatever you want. But the most important thing out of all this is that you go ahead and make sure you have yourself a great day. I greatly appreciate you, and thanks for watching.